Ready one, Ulysses. There it is.
Hello BookTube, I'm Sean the Book Maniac. Welcome back to my channel. Today I have, this tag is the intimidating TBR tag. And the original tag was by Books and Lala. And I was tagged by the wonderful Heidi at My Reading Life. And those channels are linked in the show notes. So let's get started. Question number 1. What book or books have you been unable to finish? So I guess this question is different from books that I have bailed on. So this answer will be a little shorter. And this is a tentative answer in that there are 2 books that I have recently set aside because I was just not making headway with either of them despite enjoying them in a non-compulsively readable page-turnery way. And they kept getting bumped with other books that were more compulsively readable. One of them is this 1895 novel translated from the Polish, The Doll by Boleslav Prus, and I have read about 40 or 50% of this. Was really enjoying it, but it was very easy to put down, and parts of it were very challenging to read, and other parts were absolutely delightful, and I just kept bumping it. It's now on hold, I hope, and it's a tome, 800, 700 pages. I switched over from this mammoth soft cover, which I love, this physical book, but this book didn't fit my suitcase, so that was one of the reasons that I was not reading it very much. So I switched over to the Kindle version and still was putting it aside, so I hope I will get back to it someday. The other book that I have recently put aside is the Man Booker International long-listed novel from Taiwan, The Stolen Bicycle by Ming-Yi Wu. Similarly, read about half of it, kept setting it aside. It's now officially on hold for much the same reasons as the Polish one. Number 2, what book have you yet to read because you just haven't had the time? This one is kind of random because that would describe any book in my possession that I haven't yet read, right? So, randomly, here are 2. A novel by the Russian-American novelist Olga Grushin, 40 Rooms. Published in 2016, I first heard about this from Jenny of the Reading Envy podcast and featured it on my 5-star prediction video. Haven't gotten to it yet. Similarly, Sarah Baum's A Line Made by Walking, I think it was also 2016. I can't remember if I don't think I first heard about this from Eric Carl Anderson. I believe it was actually from All the Books podcasts from Book Riot, but certainly have heard Eric praise it. Left, Right, and Center. This was a 2017... Is it a novel? Yes, this is a novel about a woman who goes to her grandmother's place in Ireland to commune with nature and try to heal her depression. Number 3, a book I haven't yet read because it's a sequel. Well, I don't really do sequels, unless they're written by Hilary Mantel, but there is a couple others I'll mention. I read the first volume of a projected trilogy from the gay British novelist Adam Mars Jones, Pilcrow. And Pilcrow was about a young gay disabled man, his boyhood in 1950s Britain. And it was a 500-page novel. I read it over several months. I was enjoying it, but it was not a page-turner. It took me a long time to finish it, and I felt bad because this young man was confined to his bed, first at his parents' home and then in an institution for his entire childhood. And not much happens except in his own wonderful mind, and it did not hold my interest the way other stories might have, but I persevered, and I'm so glad I did, because I have thought back on that novel almost on a weekly basis since I finished it a couple of years ago, despite it not being a page turner, so it did really have a profound effect on me as a reader. So the second volume in the trilogy, Sadila, has been out for several years too. I haven't gotten to it yet. Doing this tag has reminded me of that, and so I would like to give Sadila a try. The third volume has not come out, and this is kind of another Hilary Mantel scenario, because those first two have been out for 10 or more years, I think. I first heard about this trilogy, these books, from Simon Savage, not on his YouTube channel, but on his and Thomas's The Readers podcast, and I do recommend them. I do recommend Pilcrow very highly. Another one for this is the Quebecois sci-fi writer Sylvain Neuvel's trilogy. I can't remember the name of the trilogy, but the first volume came out and took the literary world by storm a couple years ago, Sleeping Giants, and I liked it. I really liked it. I was surprised. I think it's the first sci-fi I've read since I was about 12. And I did it as a buddy read with two of my good readerly friends here in Tokyo, and they liked it a lot too, and said that it was driving them the crazy that they would have to wait for a year to read the second one. And I remember saying to them, you know what, I don't know if I'll even bother to read it. I don't really care how this story ends. And that's kind of how I am about sequels. It's kind of how I am about a lot of genre fiction, actually. Murder mysteries. I have trouble. I hate mysteries, and part of the reason is I just don't care who did it. But anyway, I did try Waking Gods, the second of the trilogy, and that didn't go well. That was an early bail. Anyway, enough about that. Question number 4. What books have you yet to read because they are brand new? Lots. So the much acclaimed novel in the form of linked short stories, Tommy Orange's There. I have the ebook. Hope to get to it fairly soon, and kind of shutting out all the rest of the buzz, because I want to. If I hear too much buzz, I can't read the book until that buzz dies down in my memory. But I hope to get to that soon. And just randomly, some recent acquisitions that I'm looking forward to read and have all come out in the last few weeks or months. Old Baggage by Lisa Evans, about a suffragette who isn't sure what to do with herself by the 1930s, when all the suffragette issues have been solved, and she does find something to do with herself. Ange of Beyond the Pages read this and loved it. I hope to get to it soon. Booker long-listed In Our Mad and Furious City by Guy Gunaratney. I've heard very mixed reviews of this, but I have high hopes that it might be a Sean book. I acquired it before it made any prize list, so I'm not reading books because they're on the Man Booker prize list, but I will read this because I was intrigued by it before the fact. I'll talk about this one in a later prompt as well, but Daisy Johnson's Everything Under also recently came out. I was interested in it before other people were interested in it because of some silly prize. A book I haven't read yet because I read a book by the same author and didn't enjoy it. This is the most interesting question on this tag for me, because I've tried to talk about this before on my channel. It happens, I would say 4 times out of 5, that I read a book by an author and really enjoy it or love it, and then go on to read another book by the same writer and hate it, don't like it, or bail on it. So that happens a lot. But in the reverse scenario where I try a book by a new author and I don't like it, I am hesitant and rarely go on to try another book by the same author, even though the odds should be about the same as the reverse scenario, shouldn't they? But I can't convince my stubborn mind to take the risk. So examples of that would be Helen Oyeyemi. I really didn't like her Boy Snowbird, and I bailed on her, I think it was her debut, The Icarus Girl. But I have one or two other books of hers on my shelf, and am reluctant to try them, and I should. I think if I tried 3 books by one author, that's enough. Even 2. So this one was 2, so... but I think I owe her one more, because she seems like the kind of writer I would love, but so far haven't had good luck. Ian McEwan, I absolutely freaking hated his Booker Prize winning novel Amsterdam. With a passionate intensity, I hated that book. But I will try On Chesil Beach. And what was the one about where the narrator was a baby in the womb? It's his most recent one, I think. I've heard really good things about that. But I hated Amsterdam so intensely. But it's going to take a real push. Curtis of Curtis Books and Films has basically convinced me that On Chesil Beach is worth a try. Just a month or so ago, I read Michel de Kretzer's The Life to Come, and I didn't care for it. I expected to love it, and I appreciated a lot of things about it, but I didn't like it very much. I think I would not try her next novel, but the one after that. I think there's a lot of talent here, and she has a masterpiece in her, but this wasn't it. It's a really interesting question for me, because I have come to realize that I do not have favorite writers. I only have favorite books, and so inherent in that reality is the fact that I should try other books by the same writers, because there probably will be one somewhere in that writer's oeuvre that I will enjoy, even if I didn't enjoy the first one. A book I haven't yet read because I wasn't in the mood for it. I bail a lot, so maybe many of those I wasn't in the mood for. For example, during Booktubeathon a couple of weeks ago, I bailed on Ties by Domenico Starnoni, and everybody else on BookTube and seemingly in the world loved this book, and I hated it. And maybe I just wasn't in the right mood. I doubt I'm going to try it again, as I had pretty good reasons why I didn't like it, that I think were not just a function of it being the right book at the wrong time, but you never know, right? Because it's humongous. For this one, I haven't unpacked it yet since I've moved, so I'll just show you a graphic up here. A 2-volume, 1,500-page biography of Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln, A Life by Michael Burlingame. After I read Doris Kearns Goodwin's A Team of Rivals, which is the best work of popular history that I have ever read, I bought this book to read more about him, and I started the first volume. I read about 100 pages. I really enjoyed it, but I didn't get back to it, and it's really intimidating. They're intimidating for sure. So I have it here. Anybody want to buddy read a 1,500-page biography of Lincoln? I don't know when I would want to do it. That's a big commitment, but I very much enjoyed the first 100 pages. Number 8, because it was a cover buy that turned out to have poor reviews. I do have one that fits the bill. Very recently, I previewed this for Booktubeathon. Masasugu Ono's Lion Cross Point, and what a gorgeous cover. Just incredible. And it was awful. I did for a page 112 tag, which just went up earlier today. But what a disappointment, because that cover. So that's the best recent example. I am worried about that for Daisy Johnson, because I love the cover. Despite what Memento Mori might have to say on the topic, I think that's a gorgeous cover. I don't know whether it fits the books, but I've heard very mixed reviews of this, so I'm worried this might be one that fits this prompt. Kind of randomly I pulled off the shelf. Look at this gorgeous cover. Peacekeeping by Misha Berlinski. This is a novel about international aid workers in Haiti after the most recent earthquake, I believe. And I've heard mixed reviews, and I haven't heard any really ecstatic reviews. It's a 2016 novel, and I bought it. I'm interested in Haiti, but I love the cover, and it's this kind of a scratchy cover. And I have a feeling this might. I'm worried this one might end up being like that. Nice cover, too bad about the text. The last question, what is the most intimidating book in your TBR pile? This one's kind of random too. I would say the Abraham Lincoln 2-volume biography is a contender, but also this one has been on my shelf for years. How many pages is this? About 800 pages. The Castle Cross the Magnet Carter, a novel by Kia Corthron. And it's a heavy, small print novel, 2016 I believe. I've heard really good things. I haven't heard much about it. There aren't a lot of people trumpeting this novel, but everybody who's read it, most people who've read it, love it. 2016 novel. Kia Corthron was one of the writers for The Wire. I haven't seen that TV show. I hear it's wonderful. This is a novel about a family from 1941 to the 21st century, through the lives of 4 men, 2 white brothers from rural Alabama and 2 black brothers from small town Maryland. And they have some dramatic, perhaps violent confrontation, and then it traces the effects of that through the 2 families up to the present day. I would really like to read this. It's intimidating. I'm looking for buddy readers. Alright, well that was a fun tag. Thanks for watching. I tag Marc Nash, whose latest novel, I don't have the title of his novel in my head, but his latest novel has been longlisted for the Not the Booker Prize, which is freaking awesome. Congratulations, Marc. Curtis of Curtis Books and Curtis of Curtis Books and Books, Lukas of Totally Pretentious, Big Al Books, and Laura Frey. Thanks for watching.